Today we're watching the most complex language in the world. And yeah, let's watch.
You are cells, your muscles, organs, skin, and hair. They are in your blood and in your bones. Cells are biological robots. They don't want anything. They don't feel anything. They are never sad or happy. They just are, right here, right now. They're as conscious as a stone or a chair or a neutron star. Cells just follow their programming that's been evolving and changing for billions of years, molded by natural selection. They are impossible machines, and yet, here they are, driven entirely by the fundamental forces of the universe. The smallest unit of life, right at the border where physics becomes biology. Sometimes, to get a truer understanding of how amazing something is, you need to hold your breath and dive in really deep. So, what are cells, and how do they work?
Okay, let's see. But the cells that die,
right now.
those ones are
Let's
weak.
fill it top to bottom with trillions of grains of sand, billions of grains of rice, hundreds of thousands of grapes, a few thousand apples, and a dozen watermelons. This is what the inside of your cells looks like. In terms of numbers, they're mostly filled up with water molecules, the grains of sand. Water gives the cell's insides the consistency of soft jelly and enables other things to move around easily. Almost all the other things, the rice and fruit, are proteins. Several billion in total, more than 10,000 different kinds, depending on the function of the cell. Your cells are basically protein robots, as is all life really. In fact, all solid non-fat parts of your body are mostly made out of protein, even your bones. Proteins are dead things that make life happen. How does this work? The language of life. Cells need
Is that
to do
why
many very hard
bodybuilders take
things to
so
stay
much
alive.
protein when working
Get
out?
food in and waste out, grow and build structures, escape danger or react to stimuli, make copies of themselves, and so on. All of this is done by speaking the language of life. And the words of this language are proteins. This is how this language works in a nutshell. It all begins with amino acids, tiny organic
So protein
molecules.
actually works.
They're the alphabet of the language of life. There are 21 different ones, like different letters. Amino acid A, amino acid B, C, and so on. If you put around 50 amino acids together, they form a protein, which in the language of life is a word. And if you put many of these protein words together, you get a sentence called a biological pathway. Let's oversimplify a bit and say, for example, your cell needs to break down sugar with the language of life. It may take the amino acids for the letters B, R, E, A, and K to form the protein word break. Then combine this word with other protein words to form a biological pathway sentence that means break down sugar. In reality, this language of life is so complex
like
that
code.
it defies imagination. You need to know about 8,000 words to speak a human language really well. But in the language of life, there are an estimated 20,000. And while the average English word has 5 letters, human proteins have an average of 375 amino acids. The longest protein has more than 30,000. And cells need to execute thousands.
Yo, that's okay, now I kind of see why, because that's why if like even a little tiny thing goes wrong, like one of your cells gets like sick or like anything gets infected inside, your whole body just goes out of control. Like a simple infection, because it just disrupts all this. Okay, now it makes sense. That's why we're so like fragile.
If they ever stop speaking the language of life, they die. Okay, but how do mindless cells speak a language this complex? Let's dive a little deeper. There are 21 amino acids that can be combined to form proteins. And proteins are made up of dozens to hundreds to thousands of amino acids. For the average protein length of a human cell of 375 amino acids, you get a stunning 6.8 times 10 to the power of 495 possible proteins your cells can make. A quadrillion Google times more than there are atoms in the universe. Most of these possible proteins are useless. Just like with human language, most random letter combinations are just gibberish. So you need to know which words, which proteins, make up a language to speak it properly. And this is the job of your
Can
DNA.
they have abbreviations? I think
sequence
that
of
would get like
instructions.
things done quicker.
If you untangled a cell's DNA, it would be about 2 meters long. All of your body's DNA combined into one long string would reach to the sun and back over 20 times. Around 1% of your DNA is made up of genes, which are basically protein dictionaries that contain all the words of the language of life your cells speak.
But protein is really
building manuals for all the proteins your cells need to function. The rest of your DNA is probably not useless.
I'm gonna have to overdose on protein, honestly.
It's like the book of grammar of the language of life. Which proteins need to be built at which time? How many of them do you need? Which protein words go together and why? Okay, letters, words, sentences.
So inside my body, I'm really smart.
Of course, this is all just a metaphor for something mind-numbingly complex. Let's dive a little deeper to catch a glimpse of reality. How dead proteins make life. Now that we have some basic principles, we have a chance to understand how dead things make life together. And for that, we need a fundamental force of the universe, electromagnetism. The elementary particles that make up atoms, which make up amino acids, have different charges that attract or repel each other. The 21 different amino acids all have slightly different charges. Some are more negative, others more positive. When your cells build proteins, they put different amino acids together in chains, basically long strings. Now, because of the different charges of the amino acids used, these strings begin to fold in on themselves. This folding process is so complex that we still haven't completely understood how exactly it works. But in a nutshell, 1D strings become 3D structures. Proteins are basically 3D puzzle pieces with a very specific shape. In the world of proteins, shape is everything. Because its 3D shape determines which areas of a protein are charged in which way, and this determines how it can interact with other proteins. All of these differently charged puzzle pieces can snap together or repel each other. When they snap together, their charge changes, which can make them change their shape, which then makes them a new protein, a new tool that can do new things. This is what makes proteins so incredibly powerful. You can do basically everything with them. They can snap together like Lego pieces to build complex structures. They can dismantle things. They can form complex micro-machines that use energy to do work. And maybe most stunningly, they can convey information. Let's say there's a toxic chemical entering
You're telling me people die.
Maybe a protein shaped to snap to that toxin.
How the hell is that possible with all this happening?
If the protein finds that toxin, it changes its shape. With that new shape, it can now snap into a different protein that changes its shape again.
But the sad thing is,
new protein activates a micro-machine that directly binds to your DNA to order the production of a special protein which acts as an antidote to the toxin. This cascade of interaction is the pathway we spoke about earlier, a sentence in the language of life.
With a more advanced immune system, you could be immortal. If it can make cures, bro, your body just needs time to make this stuff. Because when everything comes at it really quick and it's overwhelmed, you shut down and die. But if you give it time, all it needs is time. And it can fix anything up. Anything can heal with time, unless like your head is cut off right away. That can't really be fixed. But because I've heard of cases where people get their hands snapped off and then they get put back on. If you bring it within 30 minutes, they can put it back on. So
So without a single active thought, proteins have fixed a problem and saved the cell's life. In reality, these pathways can have dozens to hundreds of steps. How life operates is so incredibly awe-inducing. Somehow, mind-numbingly complex interactions between dumb and dead proteins create a less dumb and less dead cell. Somewhere around here, life happens, but we still don't know what life is. How dumb things are smart together.
Life is something that's breathing, right?
We need another analogy, so let's talk about ants. Ants share a fundamental property with cells: they are really dumb. A single ant will just stumble around uselessly. But if you put a lot of ants together, they exchange information and do amazing things. Constructing complex structures, organizing themselves, caring for broods, or attacking enemies. Although dumb individually, together they become something greater.
Yeah, Look, I know ants are dumb and all that, but if we had human-sized ants, those would make the best slaves. Because there's no asking for freedom by that. Like, with that, those are just like horses, cows. If you had horse-sized ants, we could be the most, I don't know, advanced civilization ever with ant-sized horses. Because look at what they're making. If they're making structures this advanced, just capture the queen, order her to like tell them you build all these beautiful houses. You could build a house in 20 days
Phenomenon
with a
occurs
bunch
all
of
over
ants
nature
like that.
and is called emergence. It's the observation that entities have properties and abilities that their parts do not have. This is how everything in your body works. Your cells are bags of proteins guided by chemistry. But together, these proteins form a living being that can do a lot of really sophisticated things. Cells are mindless robots that are even dumber than ants, but many of them acting together form specialized tissue and organ systems, from muscles that make your heart beat to brain cells that make you think. If you look outside at
That's
the incredible
beautiful.
dimension and scale of space, a place where forever is a real thing, it's almost impossible not to feel a bit small, not special. But if you look inside into what you really are, you just discover almost
This is inside
indescribable
everyone, by the way.
complexity, the beautiful
Wow.
language of life. The story of the human cell
Whoa.
continues with our humans.
I mean, this is in everybody, so there's no need to feel special. This is happening right now as I speak, breaking down in my stomach somewhere. I love cells. I love being alive. But yeah, have a nice day.